Welcome to the Sweet Life of Steve, and today we're playing with beer. So we're gonna make a beer bread, yum, and then we're gonna turn that beer bread into a BLT. And we're gonna make a Radler, beer and lemonade, a refreshment at its finest. I took a trip to Germany last year. Rob and I went to Oktoberfest. I'd never been and I loved it. And we drank a lot. It was crazy. And I drank a lot of Radlers. The lemonade that they use over there actually is more like a lemon lime soda. So we're gonna make our own lemonade, why not? What I have is some simple syrup, and I'm just gonna take a couple limes and lemons, and we're gonna juice those. And then I'm going to throw the rinds into my simple syrup. And that way that's gonna steep with some of that really great lime flavor and lemon flavor. Make sure you don't get any seeds in there, but if you do, you're gonna strain them out. Let this steep for at least 10 to 15 minutes. I'm going to use this local Hefeweizen from RAR. And it's pretty much about half and half. 60-40 if you're really feeling fast and loose. And then, because I don't wanna have the added sugar of soda, but I would like some bubbles, I'm going to use a little bit of sparkling water. Just a splash. That looks like champagne. Cheers, queers. Oh. Ooh. I need that. Hello, gorgeous. We are baking bread. Flour, sugar, baking powder, salt, some melted butter, and a beer of choice. Depending on how bold your beer is, your beer bread is going to be even bolder. If you're using something that's a little bit on the weaker side of things, then obviously your beer bread's not gonna have as much flavor. But here's the fun thing. You can put in whatever the hell kind of beer you want. I'm using this local Pilsner. Evolution. You know what would be super fun is to have like a beer tasting party where you also did 5 or 6 different beer breads made with various craft beers. You know, support your local brewery. Pillion River. Okay, sounds like a drag queen. You know I'm saying that. Reach around. Yeah, Miss Pillion River. Is that a drag queen? They're gonna hate me over Miss Pillion. Double D. Wait, double. Oh, not that double D. Fordham and Dominion. We are baking bread. Sugar and flour together, along with our baking powder and our salt. And you wanna just stir that up, just to make sure that all those ingredients are well incorporated together. Then we're gonna make a slight well in our dry ingredients. And we're gonna add in our beer. Now I'm gonna use a Pilsner. I also like IPAs, EPAs. The beer does not need to be cold. You don't need to worry about whether it's foamy or not. You just dump it all in there. And then we're gonna gently stir. This is sort of a really key thing for quick breads, is you do not wanna over stir because then they're gonna get really tough. You just stir it until it comes together. Should be a little bit lumpy bumpy, kind of like pancake batter. So what was that, like 30 seconds and we're pretty much already done. If you have a tiny little dry bits here and there, that's not that big of a deal. It's gonna self-adjust and correct itself in the oven. And we're gonna pour all this butter in a second. You're gonna see what I'm talking about. All right, so look at that. It's kind of lumpy, it's kind of dumpy. We're gonna plop that into a loaf pan that I have brushed with a little bit of butter. Dump this in. So you can see it's not really a very wet batter. Just spread it around a little bit. Then we're gonna take our melted butter and we're just gonna pour that right over the top. And it's gonna kind of sit there on the top and you're gonna say to yourself, self, this doesn't look right, but it is. As it bakes, that dough is just gonna soak up all that buttery goodness because here's where we have our other flavor. We have the beer's flavor and then we have the fat. Fat is flavor. Into a preheated 350-degree oven and we bake it until it's done. Now what are we doing? Oh. We're drinking. So good. We've got this gorgeous loaf which is done. Now, how do you know when your bread is done? It's gonna have an internal temperature of between 200 and 205 degrees Fahrenheit. It'll have a really nice golden dark crust, and it will kind of sound a little bit hollow when you thump it. So when it's finished, you wanna pull it out of the oven and unmold the bread relatively quickly, allowing it to cool on a cooling rack until it's completely at room temperature. This is gonna help us to develop this really pretty golden brown crust. If you leave it cool in the pan, the condensation and heat will actually sort of make it a little bit mushy. The recipe for this is in the description below. The recipe for this is in the description below too. And you're gonna wanna make both of these because they're delicious. Can you smell this? Hello, gorgeous. We're candying some bacon. Now, bacon is one of the 4 major food groups. So we have bacon, chocolate, cheese, and anything deep fried. I have more of this. A 5, 6, 7, 8. We're candying some bacon now. Use whatever kind of bacon you like, but make sure that it is not thick cut. It actually will take forever to candy. I hope you're having fun drinking along with me right now. I've got some brown sugar and some Dijon mustard. That's all we need for this. I'm not gonna use a pastry brush or anything like that. I'm just gonna use a glove. A glove. I'm gonna take a little bit of the Dijon mustard and just gently brush it onto each piece of the bacon. Obviously, you want to make sure that this mustard at the end of your little bacon experiment here gets thrown away, because now it's all full of raw baconness, and that's just gonna make somebody sick, so don't put that back in the refrigerator. Just a little bit, couple fingers will do. There's a joke in there somewhere. Brown sugar, just sprinkle liberally. Use light brown sugar, not dark brown sugar. There's too much molasses in the dark brown sugar, it won't candy. Pack it in there really good and tight. Make sure you use an aluminum foil lined pan. If you don't, this is gonna be a hot, sticky mess of terrible. This makes cleanup a breeze. And now we're gonna go to the oven. 325 degrees. About 10 minutes, you want to make sure that you're turning the pan every 5 minutes until it is done. So let's go to the oven, shall we? As soon as your bacon comes out of the oven, you want to transfer it to a clean parchment-lined sheet pan and let the bacon cool on that. If you let your bacon cool on the aluminum pan that came out of the oven, it's gonna be a hot, sticky, nasty, disgusting mess, and you'll never get these pieces off. But if you let them cool on your sheet pan or on with parchment paper, you'll have this delicious candy bacon. Do we need to do that again? Should we do that again? There's 11 more pieces of bacon. I love me a good sandwich. First, we're gonna, we gotta finish this off. I've sliced up some of my beer bread, and I'm actually just gonna kind of gently toast it in a dry cast iron skillet. As you can remember from the beginning of this, we put a lot of butter in here, so we don't really need to butter this up anymore to toast it up. So just a couple minutes on each side. Of course, you could also do this in a toaster oven if you wanted to, or even in your oven. It doesn't really matter. But I've got this fun cast iron skillet from Butter Pat Industries, so I'm gonna go ahead and use it. Why not? There we go. So just a minute or two on each side, and while that's sort of warming up, I've got some lovely sliced heirloom tomatoes, some avocado for extra fatty deliciousness, and some crisp green lettuce, of course, mayonnaise, the condiment of champions, and our beautiful candied bacon, and our Radler. Delicious. I'm using my fingers here. They're clean. You can just smell the butter coming to life again. It's so good. This bread freezes really, really well, and actually when you thaw it at room temperature, it maintains its crust out of the freezer. So that's great. At St. Patrick's Day, we do it a lot with Guinness or with Guinness Blonde, brewed here in Maryland. Time to assemble. A little bit of mayo on the bottom. This is gonna act as some glue. And then we're gonna put our lettuce, a couple pieces of that. And now I'm gonna do a couple slices of tomato. Let's call the whole thing off. Couple of pieces of bacon. And by a couple, I mean like 6. Because it is a BLT after all. And then I'm gonna take some of this beautiful sliced avocado. Just kind of plop that right on topsy. And then another piece of bread. Look at that. Sandwich! Oh, gorgeous. Now let's make one for Rob. Okay. Mayonnaise. Tomato. Oh, he can have one more piece. Delicious. It's a big sandwich. Number one roll. This is really sticky bacon. Honey, I made you something. What are you wearing?
Theme, right?
It's a theme. I love it. Oh, and you're drinking? You got your Radler. Ching. Prost. Is that what we said? Prost. What do you think? It's good.
It's sweet.
Just like me. All right, I made you a sandwich.
Yeah, okay. I don't know how this is gonna happen.
All you gotta do is just open wide and shove it on in there.
Yeah.
Mmm. It's really good. It's so good.
Delicious.
All right.
It actually collapses nicely. You can actually get it.
And it's nice and squished. The bread is really soft. And it's not overly crunchy. You've got fatty deliciousness from the avocado, crispiness from the bacon, juiciness from the tomato. It's really, really good. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, and then do it all again. We'll see you next time. Somebody come clean up this shit.
I think I'm here.
Are we still filming?
Let's just pound it.
Pound it.
You've got nothing left.
Oh, Jesus Christ.